Eskom is, I think, justifiably celebrating the fact that we have had 200 days without load shedding. And if we get to 4 days' time, October the 18th, 204 days without load shedding, that will mark the longest streak of load shedding free days since a streak of over 220 days in 2019. But while watching a YouTube broadcast of media shindig hosted by Kgosientsho Ramakgopa, the electricity minister, earlier, I thought to myself, 200 days without load shedding means 200 days that I haven't consulted EskomSePush to find out what my load shedding schedule is going to be. Fewer than 200 days, because in the beginning we didn't quite believe that it was going to last, and so we did keep checking. So it's probably 170 odd days where I haven't had occasion to check EskomSePush. Dan Wells is one of the founders of EskomSePush and joins us now. Hello, Dan.
Hi, John. How's it going?
It's going fine with me. More importantly, how's it going with EskomSePush when the thing that brought this wonderfully cheatly named and useful information providing thing into our lives, that rationale has disappeared?
It's going all right, John. I must admit, first of all, we need to compliment Eskom and, a job well done. I think we're all surprised that we went through winter without any load shedding, and we're holding thumbs that it stays the same during summer. But Eskom's being quite honest that it's not gone, and neither are we. So we're still here, and we will be available if load shedding does, or if it returns. But otherwise, we're putting a lot of effort into our community that we've been building over the last couple of years.
When did that concept of the village, your version of the village, when was that introduced to what up until that point, whenever it was a pure provider of information about load shedding times?
It's been a thing that's been building over the last couple of years. It's probably started in its first iteration in about 2019, when lots of people would just email us and they would ask us questions that we couldn't possibly answer. So we put them together in a community chat so they could at least talk to each other and ask each other, questions relating to their own neighborhood. But now it's something that's progressed. We call it ESP Chats. We've got about 300,000 users that are using that on any given day, and over about 2 million over a month. And if I look at it now, we've got about 5,000 conversations that are active today, which is pretty cool to see.
And what are those conversations about, mostly?
Mostly about outages, which is something we're obviously synonymous with power outage. But there are lots of conversations about water as well. And then there's also some random conversations about, if there are jobs available, if there's things for sale, or if there are events happening in the area, or if someone's just looking for a recommendation in a specific area.
But most of it is kind of related to the original core purpose of EskomSePush is important service, I don't have it, why not?
That's it. So what we're trying to change there is actually become a bit more helpful and become a bit more of like a WhatsApp group replacement. So WhatsApp groups are great, but we don't know they exist. You have to be invited to them, and you have to be linked to your phone number. Whereas in ESP chats, you can join the conversation. We're anonymous by default. You can share your identity if you'd like to. And then also in terms of administration, you are the admin. You can help, moderate the community conversations as well.
And I listened to the hour that Pippa Hudson hosted relatively recently with Vanessa Raffaeli, who started The Village, and Karen Shimke, who helped her write the book, which was recently published. And they have to spend a lot of time moderating because there are a lot of comments that are of a nature that they would prefer not to be in a family, in a community like The Village. Is that an issue for ESP's community as well?
Anywhere where you give anyone the opportunity to write something in a public forum, then absolutely it is a problem. but we've spent a good chunk of effort into our moderation tools. So there are moderation tools that are available to the user, so you can report chats or report users. And then we've got a lot of automatic moderation behind the scenes, which we're using quite a lot of AI for and ChatGPT. And it's doing a really excellent job at actually keeping our community very clean.
And monetizing, I mean, were you ever able to make money out of EskomSePush when it was primarily a provider of information about load shedding?
John, we're an advertising platform, so we show adverts. And with that, when we have more users, we have more costs. So our costs sort of scale with our advertising base. So yes, a little bit of money, but nothing ridiculous. We're nothing on the comparison to what the Eskom is saving on its diesel budgets, and we're not so sure where that money's going. But really, it's a cost and a revenue that scales with the user base. So now we've got significantly less users than we had with load shedding, and our costs are significantly less, and as is our revenue. So it's something that scales linearly together.
Sheila just WhatsApp to say, John, I refuse to delete the ESP app because Murphy's Law. As soon as I do, the dreaded blackouts will come back. And, I presume, being good South African citizens, you don't want it to come back. But should it do so, no, you will be immediately able to get back into load shedding schedule, providing information the way you did during the worst days.
Absolutely, John. We're not going anywhere. In December, it'll actually be 10 years that we've been in operations,
wow,
if you can believe that. And we're not going anywhere. This is our day-to-day. What we want to do is we want to become the must-have South African app. So whether you are a South African or whether you are visiting South Africa or whether you're international and South African, we want to remain on your phones, to give you information wherever you are.
Dan, thanks for coming on the radio and giving us an update. Dan Wells, one of the co-founders of EskomSePush.